Now, depending on your comfort level, we can come around if you've written up some questions, and I can pick them up and read them. Or if you're comfortable, you can stand up and read them. I already do have a few questions that were emailed to me by some people who couldn't be there today. So let me start by an email question and then open it up. One question we have is, for people who have concerns about the Common Core standards, what is the process for future updating of the Common Core standards and the tests used to assess them?
That is an important question because it provides a clue. Can I be heard from here?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just sit here. There is no mechanism for revising Common Core standards. It was never built in. It was never talked about, even though there were people on the validation committee, and Professor Milgram has indicated that in his recent Georgia testimony. He's willing to disclose what happened. I'm not, but it's okay. He doesn't care about the consequences. The point he's making is that some members of the validation committee were concerned about the lack of a mechanism for revising. There was nothing said about how they could ever be changed. Everyone knows that no set of standards is perfect. There are always going to be things that you discover later, and that is why almost every state I know of has asked for timely revision of whatever standards it has created. There's usually some clause, some words in statute that indicate every 5 years or on a timely basis, something that indicates they expect revision to take place. But we have no clue whatsoever. There is no way, and worse than that, they are copyrighted.
Yes, so so states had to adopt Common Core 85% word for word. I mean, I think the thing that's really important to remember that the whole point of national standards is uniformity, right? You often hear in particularly wealthier communities, well, we're going to exceed it, we're going to do more. That's not the intent here. If Massachusetts adopted standards that Mississippi did, you know, it only makes sense that they're probably going to end up being somewhere in the middle. But as Sandy mentioned too, the Governors Association, which is a private organization, they're not accountable to anybody, and the Council of Chief State School Officers is also private. If they own the copyright on it, they own legally the intellectual material of those standards. Any revisions that are ever made to them has to have their approval and have to be subject to the same copyrights. And so I guess you know, this is problematic on lots of different levels. I mean, the only thing you take away tonight is that now the standards in Massachusetts are virtually identical to the standards in Mississippi, and that you're paying what you are in property taxes to have the same standards they have in Mississippi. I mean, this is alarming. But there is not any predictable way to revise these. And in fact, I think the intent of this is to put these standards and the tests out of the reach of any governor, any one governor, any state legislature, really, any Congress or elected official. That's the intent here. I mean, if it's developed, funded, and operating out of the public sphere, then it really is not there. I mean, they have a public impact because they're in our schools, but they're not intended really to be publicly revised or debated standards. So just something to think about.
Isn't it true that Massachusetts updates its standards regularly? And they were in the process of updating standards when the Common Core came along?
Yes.
And that there were, I mean, for every analysis that you did that shows that, you know, that the Common Core weakens Massachusetts standards, there are analyses that show that they strengthen them. And I think there were 70 teachers in Massachusetts who were involved in augmenting the standards and making them specific to this state.
All right.
So they're not the same from state to state. Massachusetts customized the standards for this state. And you know what? If for every analysis that you do, there's analysis that finds the opposite.
I'll answer
Then
that,
isn't
'cause
the
it's not.
tiebreaker what teachers think and what principals think? There's an MTA poll, Mass Teachers Association poll, a union poll, that shows that 70% of teachers who've been trained on the Common Core support them and think that they're going to improve student learning in Massachusetts. And I think in Norwell, and there's so few parents from Norwell here, The reason is because our school leaders think they're good. Your whole argument is based on the premise that we can't do any better. We're number one, we can't do any better. I mean, that's not true.
No, I
No,
didn't
A
say
third
that
of
at all.
Massachusetts public school
I didn't
students,
say
a
that.
third of Massachusetts, you've talked a long time, just give me a second. A third of Massachusetts public school students have to take remedial coursework in college. So they're graduating, they're passing the MCAS, and they're not prepared. 66% who go to two-year colleges have to take remedial coursework. 69% of employers say people aren't prepared with the skills they need. So we're not doing well enough. We could do better. And in Norwell, our director of instruction tells us that they survey kids 2 and 4 years after high school graduation. And what they hear back from them consistently is they're not prepared for the kinds of informational text they have to read in college, that they could use better preparation.
I agree with you, but that's not the point.
What is the point then?
The point is the high school standards needed to be strengthened, and Common Core didn't strengthen them.
You say that, but others say that's not true. Others say they did strengthen them.
Let me, let me.
Who says they were strengthened? Wait a minute. Who says they were strengthened?
There's a WestEd analysis that shows that there is equal rigor.
Yes, and do you know who paid for the WestEd analysis? The Gates Foundation.
And who pays for the other analysis?
No,
I mean, every analysis-
Gates Foundation paid for Achieve's analysis, Fordham Institute